I did not know betrayal could sound so quiet. It came in a whisper from my daughter's cracked lips when she said, "My mother-in-law told me you deserved this." My heart stopped, but my blood burned. Because in that moment, I realized this was not just cruelty. This was a plan, a coordinated one. And my own family was part of it. I looked at my child, exhausted, broken, apologizing for pain she did not cause, and something inside me shifted forever. They thought they had finally crushed me. What they did not know was this: they had just created their worst mistake. My name is Sarah Thompson, and I am 40 years old. I used to believe loyalty was the strongest force in the world. Stronger than blood, stronger than marriage, stronger than anything money or power could ever buy. I believed that if you gave people patience, sacrifice, and love, they would protect you when everything else fell apart. I believed family was unbreakable. I was wrong. And the day I discovered the truth, it did not arrive with screaming or chaos. It arrived in a whisper from my daughter that shattered my understanding of love, trust, and loyalty all at once. But before I tell you about that moment, you need to understand who I was before my life turned into something I never imagined. I was a single mother for most of my adult life. My husband died when our daughter Emily was only 9 years old. A drunk driver ran a red light and erased our future in seconds. One moment I was planning school lunches and family vacations. The next I was standing in a hospital hallway that smelled like disinfectant and final goodbyes. I remember how quiet everything felt, like the world had stopped breathing. I did not fall apart. I did not have the luxury to. I had a child who depended on me. So I swallowed my grief and turned it into responsibility. I became both mother and father. I worked long hours. I skipped meals, pretended I was not exhausted. I smiled when my body wanted to collapse. People called me strong, but strength is a lonely title when no one sees what it costs. Still, I was proud. Proud of surviving. Proud of raising Emily into a kind, intelligent young woman. She was my proof that pain could be transformed into purpose. When Emily got married, I thought my struggles had finally led to peace. Her husband, Daniel, seemed respectful at first, calm, educated, gentle in his tone. His family welcomed me warmly. His mother, Linda Parker, hugged me tightly the first day we met and said, "You raised a wonderful daughter. She is ours now, too." Those words felt comforting at the time. I would later realize they were not a promise. They were a warning, disguised as affection. At first, everything seemed normal. Emily visited often. We laughed. We cooked together. We shared stories. But slowly, something shifted. Her visits became shorter. Her phone calls became careful. Her voice lost its warmth. It was subtle, but a mother feels these changes before she understands them. I asked her once if everything was okay. She smiled too quickly and said she was just busy. Mothers know when their children lie. We just choose not to confront it sometimes because truth is heavier than denial. I told myself marriage required adjustment. New families meant new boundaries. But then little things started happening. I was no longer invited to birthdays. I heard about holidays after they had already passed. Messages went unanswered. When Emily did call, her voice sounded tired. Not physically tired, emotionally drained. Something inside her was being slowly emptied. Then there was my brother. His name is Michael Reynolds. We grew up inseparable. Same house, same struggles. After our parents passed, I helped him more than anyone else did. I paid part of his college tuition. I helped him when his business failed. I loaned him money without contracts or expectations. Blood was blood. We did not keep score. But financial hardship changes people. Michael grew distant, defensive, bitter. When I could no longer support him the way I once had, his warmth faded. Still, I trusted him. I believed history was stronger than resentment. That trust would cost me more than I was prepared for. The real injustice did not arrive as a single event. It built itself quietly through manipulation and whispers. Linda, Emily's mother-in-law, had a rare talent. She could smile while planting destruction. She spoke softly while controlling narratives. She praised people publicly and dismantled them privately. And she had decided that I was a threat to her authority. Why? Because I was independent. Because I had raised my daughter without a man. Because I did not beg for approval. Because I did not bow to power masked as kindness. People like Linda do not fear weakness. They fear anyone they cannot dominate. I noticed how Emily stiffened when Linda called, how her shoulders tightened, how her tone shifted. My daughter was shrinking inside herself, and someone was enjoying the control. One evening, Emily came to my house unannounced. Her hands were cold. Her face looked drained. She hugged me longer than usual and did not say much. When I asked if everything was all right, she nodded too quickly. That was when I knew something serious was happening. I wanted to demand the truth, but fear has a way of sealing mouths. So I waited. I watched, and I prepared myself for what was coming. A few weeks later, my brother Michael asked to meet me urgently. His message sounded formal, controlled. It did not sound like family. My stomach tightened immediately. When family becomes formal, it usually means someone else is pulling the strings. We met at a cafe. He did not look me in the eye. He said I needed to stop interfering in Emily's marriage and know my place. I stared at him in shock. I had barely seen my daughter lately. I had not interfered in anything. I asked him who told him that. He stayed silent. That silence answered everything. Someone had turned my own brother into a weapon against me. That night, I barely slept. My mind raced. I replayed conversations, messages, small changes I had ignored. Something large was being constructed behind my back. Something calculated. Something designed to isolate me. When I saw Emily again, she looked thinner, quieter. Her hands trembled when she held her coffee. She tried to smile, but it never reached her eyes. Then came the moment that changed everything. She arrived at my house unexpectedly. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her face was pale. She moved like someone who had been carrying pain for too long. She sat down slowly, as if gravity had increased around her. And in a voice barely louder than a breath, she whispered, "My mother-in-law said you deserved this." My chest tightened. My ears rang. My world tilted. Deserved what? What had they done to her? What had they convinced her of? Tears slipped silently down her face, and in that moment I understood something terrifying. This was not random cruelty. This was not misunderstanding. This was intentional. This was strategic. And this was only the beginning. If you have ever been betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect you, then this story is for you. If you have ever been made to feel small, powerless, or blamed for pain you did not cause, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel because what you are about to hear is not just a story. It's proof that patience has power, silence has limits, and justice always finds its way back. After that day, everything changed. Not in a loud way, not in a dramatic way. Changed in the way poison spreads through water. Quiet, invisible. Deadly. Emily stopped coming to my house altogether. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into silence. When I called her, the phone rang longer than it used to, like she was deciding whether answering was safe. When she finally picked up, her voice was distant, cautious, like someone speaking while being watched. "Are you okay?" I asked her once. "Yes, Mom," she said quickly. Too quickly. "I am just busy." Busy did not make someone sound afraid. Busy did not make someone whisper in their own life. That was when I knew Linda had moved from controlling Emily emotionally to isolating her physically. I tried calling Daniel. He did not answer. I texted him. No response. 'Twas as if I had suddenly become invisible inside my own daughter's world. Then the messages started. They came from Linda first, polite on the surface, sharp underneath. "You need to give Emily space. She is married now. Your influence is not healthy for her." Influence. As if loving my own child was a form of manipulation. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. The woman who had hugged me and called me family was now rewriting my existence as a threat. I replied calmly, respectfully. I always did. I told her I only wanted my daughter to be happy. I told her I was not interfering. I told her I would step back if that was truly what Emily wanted. She never answered that message. But the damage had already been done. Emily's social media changed. Photos of family gatherings appeared, and I was never in them. Birthdays, holidays, celebrations, everyone smiling, everyone present, except me. It was like watching your own funeral while still alive. I told myself not to overthink. I told myself I was imagining things. But intuition does not whisper without reason. Then my brother Michael stopped calling, not slowly, instantly. One day he was asking how I was. The next, I no longer existed. When I finally reached him, his voice was cold, controlled, defensive. "You need to stop pushing yourself into Emily's life," he said. The words felt rehearsed. They did not belong to him. They were planted. "I am her mother," I said. "That is not pushing. You are making things harder for her," he replied. "You always do, always." That word stayed with me long after the call ended. Always meant a story had already been written about me. Story I had never been allowed to read. Linda was not just controlling Emily, she was recruiting allies, and she was winning. The next time I saw Emily was by accident. I ran into her at a grocery store. She looked startled, like a child caught doing something forbidden. Her eyes darted around before meeting mine. She hugged me stiffly, quickly, as if affection had a time limit. "You did not tell me you were coming," she whispered. I did not know what hurt more, the fear in her voice or the idea that she needed permission to see her own mother. I asked her if she was safe. She hesitated, just for a second. But that second screamed louder than any answer. "Of course," she said. But her hands were trembling. Linda was tightening her grip, and Emily was learning how to survive inside it. A few days later, Linda called me not to talk, to warn. "You need to understand your place," she said. "Emily is part of our family now. Our family." I asked her what that meant. "It means your presence is disruptive," she replied calmly. "You make her emotional. You make her confused." Confused. It's for loving me. I realized then that Linda was not trying to protect Emily. She was trying to own her. I told Linda that no one owned my daughter. Her tone changed instantly. The sweetness vanished. What remained was cold authority. "You are crossing a line," she said. No, she was drawing one. After that call, Daniel blocked my number. I found out when I tried to reach him, and the call failed immediately. Emily did not answer either. It was as if a door had been slammed shut in my face without warning, and behind that door, my child was trapped. I started hearing things through distant relatives. Linda was telling people that I was controlling, that I was mentally unstable, that I caused Emily stress, that I was trying to break her marriage. Each lie was small, but together they formed a monster. Michael stopped returning my messages completely. One night I went to his house. I knocked. He opened the door just enough to see my face. "You should not be here," he said. "Since when do siblings need permission?" I asked. He looked away. "You are causing trouble," he muttered. "People are talking, people, not truth, not facts, just people." That was when I understood. Linda was not attacking me directly anymore. She was erasing my credibility. One relationship at a time. One lie at a time. And the scariest part was how easily people believed her. Emily sent me a message later that night. "Please do not come around anymore. It makes things harder." Harder for who? For her or for them? I wanted to reply. I wanted to fight, but something told me this was not the moment. When someone is being controlled, confrontation only tightens the chains. So I stayed silent. And silence was exactly what Linda wanted. Days passed, then weeks. I lived with a constant weight of not knowing what was happening to my daughter behind closed doors. I imagined conversations I was not allowed to hear. decisions I had no voice in, rules being set about my own existence. Then came the message that made my blood run cold. From Linda. You should start preparing yourself. Changes are coming. No explanation, no context, just a warning. I sat on my bed staring at the screen, my heart pounding. What changes? What were they planning? And why did it feel like I was about to lose far more than access to my daughter? That was when I realized something irreversible was approaching. Something that would not be undone with apologies or explanations. Whatever Linda was building, it was almost ready, and I was standing directly in its path. The message from Linda stayed in my mind like a ticking clock. You should start preparing yourself. Changes are coming. I read it again and again, searching for hidden meaning. My heart told me this was not a threat. It was an announcement. Something had already been set in motion, and I was the only one who had not been given the details. For the first time in my life, fear sat heavier than grief. Grief had shape. Fear had none. Fear lived in imagination, in unanswered questions, in shadows. I stopped sleeping properly. Every sound outside my house made my body tense. Every unknown number that called my phone made my stomach twist. I felt like someone waiting for a verdict without knowing what crime she had been accused of. I kept asking myself the same question. How did loving my daughter turn into something dangerous? I replayed every moment from her childhood, every scraped knee, every school play. Every night I stayed awake when she was sick. I wondered how those memories could be rewritten into a story where I was the villain. Then one evening, Emily finally called me. Her voice was low, controlled, strained. Mom, we need to talk. Those 5 words made my heart race. When people say that, it is never about something small. We met at a small park near my house. She arrived alone. That alone felt important. She looked thinner than before. Her eyes had a dullness that scared me more than tears ever could. She did not hug me. That silence between us felt heavier than any argument. She sat down slowly, folding her hands in her lap like a child waiting to be scolded. They think you were trying to control me, she said. They, not I, not me. My chest tightened. Who is they? She looked away. Daniel, his mother, and others. Others, the circle was expanding. They say you manipulate me, she continued. They say I change when I am around you, that I become emotional, that you fill my head with doubts. I wanted to scream. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to remind her of who I had been her entire life, but I saw something fragile in her eyes, fear mixed with confusion. And fear makes people cling to the nearest authority. Do you believe that? I asked softly. She hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than any accusation. I do not know, she whispered. I am tired of choosing sides. Choosing sides. It's between a mother who gave her life and a family that had only recently entered it. That was when I realized this was no longer about misunderstanding. This was about power. And power had already taken its place in her marriage. She handed me a folded piece of paper. My hand shook as I opened it. It was a legal notice, drafted but not yet filed. A warning of restricted contact. It accused me of emotional interference, manipulation, and destabilizing her marriage. My vision blurred. My heart pounded in my ears. They said this is just a precaution, she said quickly. They said it is for peace. Peace built on destroying a mother. I looked at my daughter and saw someone trapped between love and fear. Between loyalty and survival. Something inside me broke quietly. Not into despair, into clarity. This was no longer a family conflict. This was an attempt to erase me. And if I allowed it, I would disappear from my daughter's life. Not because I was guilty, but because I was silent. That night, I did not cry. I sat in my room and breathed slowly, deeply. I felt something unfamiliar rising inside me. Not anger, determination. I realized I had been trying to survive emotionally. Now I had to fight strategically. Linda was not emotional. She was calculated, so I needed to be the same. I wrote everything down: dates, messages, calls, changes in behavior. I stopped trusting memory and started trusting documentation. I requested copies of old messages Emily had sent me before her marriage. Messages filled with love, gratitude, and trust. Proof of the bond they were trying to rewrite. I contacted a lawyer quietly, not to attack, to protect. That alone changed something inside me. Power returned when preparation began. Then Michael called. For the first time in weeks, his voice was uneasy. "I heard you met Emily." I did not deny it. "Yes, you are making things worse," he said. "Worse for who?" I almost asked, but I already knew. "You are choosing sides without hearing the truth," I replied. He went silent. That silence confirmed everything. Linda had not only isolated me, she had positioned me as a threat, and my own brother had accepted the role of messenger. I hung up and stared at my phone. I was done trying to explain myself to people who had already decided I was guilty. That was my turning point. I stopped reacting. I started observing. Every word from Linda became evidence. Every move became data. Every warning became confirmation. I saw the pattern now: pressure, isolation, reputation, destruction, legal intimidation. She was building a cage around me, but cages require permission to close. And I was no longer giving mine. For the first time, I felt calm. Because now I understood the game. And when you understand the game, you stop being a victim. You become a player. I did not rush. Revenge done in haste becomes messy. I needed precision. I needed patience. I needed truth to become louder than Linda's lies. First, I gathered proof. Quietly, carefully, I printed every message Linda had ever sent me. Every passive threat. Every line where she implied ownership over Emily. I highlighted phrases like "your place," "our family now," "your influence is harmful." Words reveal intent when you line them up properly. Then I collected screenshots from Emily's older messages. Messages from before her marriage. Messages filled with warmth. "I love you, Mom. I could not survive without you. You are my strength." I placed them beside the accusations that now painted me as toxic. The contrast was devastating and powerful. Next, I visited the lawyer again, this time with a folder. Thick, organized, silent evidence speaks louder than emotion ever could. He flipped through the pages slowly. The sound of paper turning felt like control returning to my hands. "This is not interference," he said. "This is character manipulation." That sentence stayed with me. Character manipulation. That was Linda's real crime. Now came the harder part. Emily, I needed her to see truth without feeling attacked. If I confronted her directly, Linda would twist it. I needed the truth to reveal itself naturally. So I did something unexpected. I invited Linda. I sent a calm message, polite, controlled. "I believe misunderstandings are damaging our family. I would like to talk openly." With Emily present, there was a long pause before she replied. Then that would be best. Her confidence told me she believed she had already won. We met at my house. It's the same house where Emily had grown up, where love had been simple and unconditional. I cleaned slowly that day. Every movement grounded me. The smell of tea leaves, the soft hum of the fan. My heart beat steady. They arrived together. Emily looked nervous. Linda looked composed. Daniel stayed quiet, standing behind his mother like a shadow. We sat, silent, stretched. I let it. Linda broke it first. "We only want peace. Peace built on destruction." "I want clarity," I said. She smiled. That thin, controlled smile. "That comes with acceptance." "No," I replied. "Clarity comes with truth." I opened my folder. The sound of it sliding across the table felt like thunder. I laid out the messages. One by one, Tom. Methodical. "You said I was harmful. You said I confused my daughter. You told others I was unstable." Linda's eyes flickered for a fraction of a second. That was the first crack. I turned to Emily. Her hands trembled as she picked up the pages. Her breathing changed. Faster, shallow. Then I placed the old messages beside them. The love. The warmth. The contrast. Silence filled the room. Heavy, uncomfortable, revealing. Does this look like manipulation? I asked softly. Emily's lips parted. No sound came out. Linda leaned forward. Those were emotional messages. Emotions are unstable. Love is not instability, I replied. Control is. Daniel shifted. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on his face. Then I played the last card, a voice recording. lindasvoice.com, cold, recorded during a previous call. You need to understand your place. Emily belongs to our family now. Belongs. The word echoed in the room like a gunshot. Emily looked up sharply. You said that. Linda stiffened. That was taken out of context. Context does not change ownership, I said. Emily stood up slowly. Her legs were shaking. You told me my mother was dangerous, she whispered. But you never showed me proof. Linda's composure cracked. I was protecting you by isolating me. Emily asked by turning everyone against her. The room changed. The air shifted. Power does not collapse loudly. It dissolves. Daniel finally spoke. Mom, why did you hide this? Linda's silence was her confession. Then my phone rang. Michael, I put it on speaker. Sarah, he said nervously. Linda said you were causing drama, Michael, I said calmly. Did you ever hear my side? No answer. I turned to Emily. This is how manipulation works. It uses silence as consent. Emily looked at me. Then at Linda. Then at Daniel. Her shoulders straightened. I want space, she said. From all of this, Linda stood up abruptly. You are being influenced. No, Emily replied. For the first time, I am thinking clearly. That was the moment. Not shouting, not chaos, just clarity. Linda had built her power on secrecy, and secrecy had just been exposed. The revenge was not destruction, it was truth. And truth is irreversible. The silence after Emily spoke was heavy, like the moment right before thunder breaks. No one moved. No one breathed properly. Linda stood frozen, her hands still resting on the back of the chair. Her posture stiff, her face pale beneath the calm mask she had worn for so long. For the first time since I had known her, she looked uncertain, not angry, not defensive, exposed. Emily stepped slightly away from her. That single movement felt like an earthquake. I need space, Emily repeated, her voice stronger now. From manipulation, from pressure, from lies. Linda's lips parted, then closed again. She searched Daniel's face, expecting support. He did not look at her. His eyes were fixed on Emily, filled with confusion and something else. Doubt. You are misunderstanding everything, Linda finally said. Her voice lacked its usual authority. It sounded thin, stretched, like fabric about to tear. This is emotional exaggeration. No, Emily said. This is clarity. I felt my chest tighten, not with pain this time, but with relief. The kind that comes after holding your breath for too long. My hands were trembling, but my heart felt steady. I had not forced anything. I'd only revealed what was already there. Linda turned toward me slowly. Her gaze sharpened. You planned this. I met her eyes without fear. I protected myself. There is a difference. Her jaw clenched. You turned my family against me. I shook my head. You did that the moment you decided control mattered more than truth. For a second, I thought she might raise her voice. Instead, she straightened her back and tried to regain command of the room. Old habits die hard. This meeting is over, she said. We will discuss this privately later. No, Emily replied. Firm, clear. There will be no later until I decide. The room shifted again. Power does not change hands dramatically. Changes when someone stops obeying. Linda looked at Daniel. Say something. He hesitated. Silence spoke louder than any defense. I need time, he said finally. This is not what I was told. Linda's face darkened. You are choosing her side now. I am choosing truth, he replied quietly. That word cut deeper than any accusation. Truth. Linda grabbed her purse. Her movements were stiff, rushed, uncoordinated. The controlled elegance was gone. What remained was a woman whose influence had just slipped through her fingers. This is a mistake, she said sharply. You will regret letting her interfere. Emily lifted her chin. You interfered first. Linda froze. That was humiliation. Not loud. Not theatrical, precise, final. She left without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft click. No slam, no drama, just an ending. For a moment, no one spoke. The house felt different, lighter, like air had finally been allowed to move. Emily turned toward me slowly. Her eyes filled with tears, not of fear, of realization. I am so sorry, she whispered. I doubted you. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but my heart felt strong. I wrapped my arms around her. She collapsed into me like she had been waiting for permission to fall. You were surviving, I said softly. That is not betrayal. She cried into my shoulder, and with every quiet sob, I felt years of tension dissolving. My body relaxed, my breath deepened, my spine straightened. I had not been erased. I had been proven. Daniel stepped forward hesitantly. I did not know, he said. I should have asked questions. Yes, I replied calmly. You should have. He nodded slowly. I will make this right. Whether he did or not was no longer my burden. Emily pulled back and wiped her face. Her expression was different now, steadier, clearer, stronger. I want therapy, she said. I want space. I want to rebuild on my own terms. I smiled gently. That is strength. Outside, the sky was changing colors, soft orange fading into dusk. The light streamed through the windows, touching the walls that had witnessed so much pain. Now they witnessed something else. Justice. Later that night, my phone vibrated. A message from Michael. I think I was wrong. I did not know everything. I read it, then set the phone down. Not every apology deserves immediate acceptance. Validation does not always need response. I went to my room and sat quietly. My hands rested on my lap. My shoulders felt lighter, my heart beat steady. The storm inside me had passed. I had not screamed. I had not begged. I had not collapsed. I had revealed. That was my victory. Linda lost not because she was attacked. She lost because she was seen. And once truth exposes manipulation, power has nowhere left to hide. For the first time in months, I slept without fear. Not because the world had become safe, but because I had reclaimed my place in it. After everything that happened, I did not feel the kind of victory people imagine when they hear the word revenge. There was no wild celebration inside me. No laughter, no shouting. What I felt was something deeper and calmer. Validation? The kind that settles in your bones and tells you that you were never crazy, never weak, never wrong for trusting your instincts. I had spent months questioning myself, wondering if I had loved too much, if I had been too protective, if my presence really had damaged my daughter. When someone repeats a lie long enough, even strong minds begin to bend under its weight. But truth does not need repetition. It only needs one clear moment to stand tall. That day gave me that moment. Karma is not always loud. It does not always arrive in dramatic scenes or explosive endings. Sometimes karma is simply exposure. Sometimes it is watching someone lose power over the people they tried to control. Sometimes it is seeing the truth walk back into the room and take its rightful place. Linda did not lose because I attacked her. She lost because she was revealed. There is a difference. I learned something important about manipulation. It feeds on silence, grows in secrecy, survives when people are too afraid to question authority. The moment light enters, manipulation collapses. It cannot survive truth. And I learned something else. Love does not mean submission. Love does not mean silence. Love does not mean allowing yourself to be erased so others can feel powerful. Love must include self-respect. Emily began rebuilding her life slowly, carefully. She started therapy. She limited contact. She began questioning everything she had been told. Watching her rediscover her voice was more powerful than any confrontation I could have had. Her strength was my real reward. She was no longer whispering. She was choosing. Daniel tried to repair what had been broken. Whether he succeeded or not was his responsibility. I no longer felt the need to manage, guide, or save anyone. I had spent a lifetime carrying emotional weight that was never mine to carry. Now I was free. People often talk about forgiveness like it is a requirement for peace, but peace does not always need forgiveness. Sometimes peace comes from distance, from boundaries, from clarity. Forgiveness is optional. Self-respect is not. I did not forgive Linda. I released her. There is a difference. Forgiveness would require emotional investment. Release requires none. It is simply deciding that someone no longer has access to your inner world, and that decision is powerful. I also learned that revenge does not have to be destructive. It does not have to mirror cruelty. The strongest revenge is dignity, preparation, exposure, control of your own narrative. Revenge is not about hurting someone. It is about reclaiming yourself. And once you reclaim yourself, no one can take you again. I stopped explaining myself to people who had already decided I was wrong. I stopped seeking approval. I stopped trying to repair relationships that were built on false versions of me. Peace came when I stopped chasing understanding and started standing in truth. My home felt different after that. Quieter, lighter, safer. It was no longer a place of waiting. It was a place of stability, of grounding, of certainty. I slept better. I breathed deeper. I trusted myself again. That was the real justice. Karma did not punish Linda through chaos. It punished her through irrelevance. She no longer had influence, no longer had control, no longer had access to the lives she tried to dominate. Her power dissolved because power built on lies cannot sustain itself. And I did not need to watch her fall to feel complete. I only needed to know that she could no longer rise. If there is one thing I would tell anyone who feels trapped in manipulation, it is this: silence does not protect peace. Truth does. Documentation does. Awareness does. Boundaries do. You do not need to scream to be powerful. You do not need to destroy to win. You only need to refuse to disappear. I was never weak for loving. I was strong for surviving. And I was unstoppable the moment I stopped doubting myself. That is not revenge. That is transformation. This story made your heart race or reminded you of a moment when you had to stand up for yourself? Hit that like button right now. Share in the comments the moment you reclaimed your power. And subscribe for more stories where truth always wins and justice always finds its way back.